in the Post-Journal, which stated, quote, "When I spotted him walking across the field at Diethrick Park on Tuesday, Sid Bream looked like he could still be playing in the major leagues. There was the familiar black hair and mustache with no hints of gray, as he looked as lean as when he played for the Dodgers, Pirates, Braves, and Astros. But it's hard to believe it's been 14 years since Bream retired from baseball." He played with the Dodgers from 1983 to 1985, the Pittsburgh Pirates from 1985 to 1990, the Atlanta Braves from 1991 until 1993, and in 1994 with the Houston Astros. His career highlight was he won the 1990 Hutch Award as one of the outstanding humanitarians in baseball. We had an opportunity to sit down with Sid Bream in July of 2008 to talk about his career and some of his highlights. Among the highlights we'll talk about is the slide. As is noted, it is one of the most replayed scenes in Atlanta Braves history, where Sid Bream slid in the 7th game of the 1992 National League Championship Series and beat his former Pittsburgh Pirates. And that game began the end of the successful career of the Pittsburgh Pirates and is often noted as the Sid Bream curse. This season, Sid is with State College and is traveling with his son, a real thrill for him, Tyler. So here I am preparing and hoping against hope that I get a chance to meet Sid Bream today as a Pittsburgh Pirate fan for a long time. And I learned a lot about you. Aside from we'll talk a little bit about the most famous play that you get asked about a million times, but you were born in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And I went to law school at Carlisle.
Dickinson. Very good.
And used to go down there quite a bit, as I'm sure you did, to watch the Washington Redskins.
I was there many times. I have an aunt that works at Dickinson, so from time to time when Washington was there, for sure, I'd go in to take a look at him when I was a younger boy.
See the old Over the Hill gang, the Sonny Jurgensons and the Billy Kilmers and things like this. Were you destined to be a baseball player?
Well, I actually had more offers out of high school for basketball than I did for baseball. And I was a white boy that could jump and dribble a little bit, and you know, back then at 6'4", that meant a little bit. And I wasn't the greatest shooter in the world, but played a pretty good defense. But my love for baseball was just that was it. I mean, I enjoyed the game of baseball.
And you went from high school on to Liberty?
I went to Liberty, yes.
You all 4 years?
3 years. Signed as a junior.
What's draft day like for you? What was it like? Did you even know you were in the Cardinal?
Well, I mean, I was told after high school that I was going to be drafted, and was really looking forward to that because my dream at that point in time was to play professionally. I mean, and in all truthfulness, it didn't really start happening there until my senior year, where some guys started to come up and start talking a little bit. So really, up until that time, I mean, I was really just playing for a lot of the love of the game and playing the game. But once they started talking to me out of high school, I thought, man, this is great. But it didn't work out there, and went down to Liberty, and things worked out nice for me there. And you know, just like this year, there was a couple kids back at around my hometown that they said, hey, you're going to get drafted in this particular round. We're going to offer you this. Well, it never happened, and you know, so you just never know. I mean, with today's words don't mean a whole lot today. A handshake doesn't mean a whole lot today. I mean, and that's sad, but things just don't mean the same that they used to.
The Dodgers, was that the team you thought you'd end up with?
They had contacted me. Jim Garland had contacted me and said that they were interested in getting me. And at that point in time, Greg, I didn't know, you know, what round it was, going to be in. But fortunately for me, it was in the second round, and had a great minor league career with them.
you were there designed to take over Greg Brock's place, right?
Well, I don't know if I was designed to take over Greg Brock's place because Greg had just basically moved in. I mean, you know, when I was just starting, you know, Greg was at the point where he was in, I think he was at AA then, and then he moved up to AAA. Mike Marshall was actually there first, and then Greg took over Mike Marshall's and moved Mike out to left field and right field or wherever he was playing. You know, I've told the story to some of these guys, young guys here, that, I mean, Al Campana's like Franklin Stubbs, who was drafted a year after me, I believe, and Tommy Lasorda really enjoyed Greg Brock, and so I was kind of left in the middle as far as where I was going to play, and in human terms, if it wasn't for Ben Wade, the head of scouting director there, you know, that said, hey, if you're not going to do something with him, at least get rid of him, let him go someplace else. And that's, fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to go with the Pirates and play there.
You got traded for quite a player, and Bill Madlock.
Sure did. I mean, you know, three of us. I mean, R.J. Reynolds, Cecil Espy, and myself.
Yeah.
You know, went out there for Bill Madlock, and a lot of people asked me what was that like? You going from a winner to a loser? And I said, you know, my goal was to make the major leagues, and if it wasn't going to be with the Dodgers, it was going to be someplace else. And fortunately for me, it worked out with the Pirates.
And you were part of that team that really, well, with Bonds and
yes,
and Bonilla. I mean, this was quite a team.
That was the start of the youth movement. And I've told people, you know, I came in right during that drug time.
Right.
And thankfully for myself, I mean, they were deciding to go with youth because Jason Thompson, the first baseman, the normal first baseman at that time, really had a better spring training than I did, and really deserved a job.
Right.
And but they were going with the youth movement, and it gave me an opportunity to get in there and start playing every day. And then you know, Leland came in, and it was.
Very much appreciate your time. What was your sense of Leland?
Loved him. I mean, just a tremendous manager, tremendous person, knew how to motivate his players, you know, was on top of the game consistently. I mean, he just really seemed to never make a mistake as far as his decision making during the game.
During that time period with the Pirates, what was the principal lineup? I mean, obviously you were the mainstay at first base. What was the lineup there?
Well, we had, you know, Barry Bonds was playing left field. I mean, during that time, I mean, we had Andy Van Slyke was in center field. Bobby Bonilla, when he wasn't playing third base, was playing right field. You know, we had Jay Bell at shortstop. We had Jose Chico Lind at second. Myself at first, along with Gary Reedus, platooning a little bit. And then we had Mike LaValliere, Don Slott, were basically our catchers. Our starters were Doug Drabeck, Bob Walk, Neil Heaton, you know, Brian Fisher, and you know, Jim Gott was our closer during that time frame, and so we had a pretty good little ball team.
Well, and with some success.
Absolutely.
Do you get a sense of what was going on with Barry Bonds at the time he was with the Pirates with you?
At the time when I was with Barry Bonds, you know, he was a skinny little kid out of Arizona State. I mean, that could run, that could hit, and was just you know, a great spark plug to the team. You know, I think a lot of the other things that were taking place, I mean, didn't occur until after I was gone from him.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was definitely some things that went on there, but you know, I didn't see that while I was playing with him.
You know, sometimes lightning doesn't strike in the same place twice. You know, if that was the case, guys who won MVP would win every year. And that just doesn't happen. You know, pitchers now bear down against you a little bit more, and they make their best pitches against you all of a sudden, and things change. You have to really be, you know, more consistent, more patient. You know, last year I was always ahead of the count. This year I'm always behind in the count. You know, they're getting those first couple of pitches over now and stuff before they may get the first pitch over and try and dib and dabble a little bit and end up behind the count. Now it's a little bit different, so I have to be a little bit more aggressive.
Do you feel like you didn't get to enjoy your MVP season enough?
No, not really. Not at all. You know, first time in my career I felt like I didn't do anything. But you know, it happens. I have no, you know, I'm not upset at anybody. Never have been.
You still having fun playing the game?
Yeah. Now I am. You know, things are starting to turn around, put things aside, go out there and do what I'm capable of doing. You know, the thing is the team needs me and they need me to perform. And when they need you to perform, you gotta perform. You know, I come here to win. I don't care about the money.
Barry's a little bit easier for you knowing that the team's going so well?
Oh yeah, it's always easier. You know, same thing with Doug Diethrick. You know, he's having a little problems now and stuff too as well.
I remember Barry, you know, my recollection was he went off the scoreboard at Buffalo, which nobody'd ever hit. He could really hit.
Goodness gracious.
Nobody's over the edge of center field.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The future. God damn. That motherfucker was smoked. Wasn't it? This shit was still going. That walk fucking fucked it up.
I didn't know that. My shit was on his way back to New York City.
Who's spit up?
Right here.
Don't ever say nobody on my shit.
Start right in your lens.
Andy Van Slyke, he's going to be in the catch too.
When I was there in '86, we lost 103 ball games, I believe. And year after year, I mean, as the puzzles came together, the team started to improve and perform. And '89 was really when we felt as though we were going to be able to compete. But that is, you know, I hurt my knee 14 days into the season. Michael Lavalier was jumped into by Rex Hudler at home plate, and he messed up his knee. And so it really blew anything that we had for that year out of the water. And fortunately for us, we came back in '90 and put it together.
Tell me about '90. You know, the sense of the whole year itself. Did you have a sense that was going to be the successful year for you guys?
Well, I mean, again, we had been rising, you know, from '86 when I got there. I mean, and little by little, I mean, it went from the Mets who dominated us in the you know, mid to late '80s to the Cardinals. There were you know, such a great team with Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Ozzie Smith and, you know, the like of those guys. I mean, it was you know, just a pressure-packed game whenever we played against them. The Mets, when we were playing against them, you know, they just had, I mean, what every team should strive for. They had an arrogance about them that they knew they were going to win. I mean, and I don't know how many games they came back and beat us in the ninth inning, which you know, just used to tick me off back then. But at the same time, they had that presence that they were going to win, and I mean, so it's something that every team should desire to have at some point in time in their career, that they just know that when they're going out there, that teams fear them because they know that they're going to win.
Did you get that swagger in '90?
We sure did. Yeah. We started to. I mean, it was, you know, we were starting to become a team, you know, even before that. And like I said, in '89, we felt as though our opportunity was coming. I mean, it was right then, but with the injuries and some other things that took place, I mean, that year kind of went by the wayside. But we knew that we had a team that was ready to start to compete.
You won the Hutch Award that year.
Yes, sir.
What did that mean to you?
Well, I mean, you know, I think that, I mean, in the game of baseball, when you're remembered for somebody that was about sportsmanship, was about playing the game the right way, such a quality award. I mean, that was a tremendous honor for myself and my wife and my family, and that just meant that I was going out and I was doing the things the way that they were supposed to be done, whether or not I was a franchise player or whatever. I was working hard, and to be honored in such a way was a tremendous thing.
So 1990 all of a sudden turns into 1991, and you find yourself with the Atlanta Braves. Was that a tough call to get?
Well, see, the thing about it is we'd won the National League East at that point in time. We went into against the Cincinnati Reds and lost in that playoff series for the National League Championship, and the very next day they came out in the paper in Pittsburgh saying Sid Bream's our first priority to sign for 1991. So my wife and I were excited.
Yeah.
And through negotiations, they didn't even get close to market price. And the first day of free agency, the Braves gave me an opportunity, and they said, but you're going to have to make a decision before the night's over with, because if you don't get it, then Franklin Stubbs, my old nemesis, he's we're going to go after him. And so my wife and I made that decision because the Pirates weren't doing anything with me. That night, my wife and I didn't sleep. We got up the next morning, called Jim Leland, said, Skipper, I said, am I bound to this contract? He said, you haven't signed your name to anything. So I called my attorney. He tried to talk me out of it for an hour, but we were going to go back to them and take their contract. And then they came back to me finally, to make a long story short, came back to me and said, well, what happens if you sign this contract with the Pirates and they trade you down to Pittsburgh for what you're making with Pittsburgh? And I said, that's a great thing. So I asked them for a 3-year no trade clause, and they said no. And I said, well, if I'm your first priority, I'd hate to see what your last one was. Yeah. And at that point in time, I mean, my wife and I made a decision to go down to Atlanta, and it worked out to be a great decision.
There's a headline. Sid Bream is rejoining the Pirates 15 years after a walk-off home run he hit in 1988. The first vivid memory I have of seeing the Pirates at Three River Stadium. I'm not sure why, but I cannot bring myself to hate this man. Of course, I have enthusiastically burned a Francisco Cabrera baseball card in my lifetime. This news gave me the urge to rewatch that terrible game. That in turn reminded me of something a friend once said. He found me doing just that. You have to stop doing this to yourself. Kind of sums up being a Pirates fan. And obviously they're referring to the slide, and this is a blog. I'll leave this with you because it's kind of fun stuff. But they went on to say, when it comes to watching that game again, just say no. I can't watch it. It's worse than a snuff film. Loved Bream when he was a bucko. Not sure I've ever forgiven him, but I might be a good yo-yo to have Juju to have him back in the fold, etc. So there's some blogging. Set the scene for that game, because that's what they often see. Sid Bream, the slide.
Well, Doug Drabek had just pitched a masterful ball game. I mean, the score was 2-0 going into the last inning, and seventh game of the National League Championship Series, and obviously we were tied 3-3 at that point in time. The winner goes on to the World Series, and Terry Pendleton comes up in the bottom of the 9th inning and doubles down the right field line. David Justice comes up after that and hits a ground ball to Jose Chico Leon that only made 6 errors all year long, and booted a little backhand to him. And so we had first and third at that point in time. And Ronnie Gann hits a fly ball for an out, but scores a run. So we have a guy on first base with scores 2-1. I come up. Drabek walks me on 4 straight pitches. So we have first and second with 1 out. He knew the game was over with at that point. No, just kidding. But they bring in Stan.
It was 2-0 at that point.
2-1. 2-1 because they scored a sacrifice fly.
Okay.
And at that point in time, they bring in Stan Belinda, and he walks Damon Berryhill on a controversial 3rd strike call. And Brian Hunter, so I'm at second base. There's 1 out. Bases are loaded. Brian Hunter comes up as a pinch hitter. Broken back, little pop fly behind second base, which makes 2 outs. And here comes Francisco Cabrera up to the plate with 2 outs and takes a high high outside fastball that was actually off the plate and pulled a frozen rope between third base and shortstop. And you know, I've often wondered quite a bit, why in the world did Bobby leave me out there to run in that situation when he could have used a pitcher that, because obviously, I mean, I didn't run the greatest with my knee surgeries and things, but fortunately for me, he did, and the great thing for me was there were 2 outs. I didn't have to worry about where the ball was hit. I knew Stan Belinda wasn't going to be concerned about me at second base, so I got an extra step or 2 off of the base. At the crack, I was able to take off, and fortunately for me, Barry Bonds threw the ball up the line just enough that, you know, Mike couldn't get there and put the tag on me.
And now the Braves season hangs in the balance as Francisco Cabrera comes to the plate to bat for the pitcher. He appeared in only 12 games this year for the Braves. He hacked at the 2-0, now the 2-1. Line drive and a base hit! Just as the score of the tying run. Bream to the plate. And he is safe! Safe at the plate! The Braves go to the World Series!
Safe? Or off?
The umpire said safe, and so we'll just say, oh, safe.
It has been replayed over and over and over again, positively with Atlanta and, of course, with the Pirates.
Yes. I mean, I still have, I have individuals as I go out and speak that let me know that I was out. I mean, and I said, well, that's up to you, but the umpire said I'm safe. But, you know, Bobby Cox in that situation is 4 inches from being a GOAT, or, you know, from being a hero that he was. And fortunately for me, you know, that play has lived on for quite some time. And, you know, it's going on 16 years now, and people still talk about it today like it was yesterday. And as you stated, when I came with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Kyle Starks stated in a meeting whenever he introduced me to the staff, he said, you know, when we put him on, he said, half my calls were saying great move, and the other half were saying, what in the heck are you doing bringing Sid Bream on board? And so it's been 15 going on 16 years that the Pirates haven't done anything, and it's all been since that time frame. And so it's considered a Sid Bream curse, and I'm hoping that things will change here before too long.
Well, that's what they said. Back to the game. Now that you're back in the game, having been out of it for some time, what's your reaction to this? You got bus rides now.
Yeah, the bus rides, being away from family. I've been at home since 24/7 since '94, coaching some elite high school teams. You know, coaching my kids as they came up through, and you know, but being home, being a family. And if I had to say that, you know, the toughest part of it's been being away from family. Mm-hmm. My wife is my best friend, and my kids, I cherish them. And I have one that's graduated this year from college and getting married here next on the 25th or 26th of July.
Perfect.
And have another one that's going to be going to college this year, and actually is down there right now taking some orientation classes and things, and going to be playing baseball where I went, my old alma mater, and I'm looking forward to that. And then I had a 14-year-old, and he loves being around this environment. And he was with me for, you know, almost the first month of the season.
Terrific.
And you know, so I figured if there was going to be a time for me to be able to get involved with the game, get back into it, this was going to be it. And like I said, there's been some sacrifices, and we'll see how those weigh out as the years go on, and see whether or not this is going to continue. But I've enjoyed working with these young men. I mean, our team, we have a bunch of good young men. I mean, there's not a bunch of arrogance there. There's not a bunch of cockiness. I mean, they're a bunch of good young men, and I've enjoyed working with them, and hopefully see some of those in the big leagues here one of these days.
What's your 5-year plan?
My 5-year plan is, I mean, coming into this, I mean, I spoken to them about being a hitting coach for a couple years, and then at that point in time getting back into managing. But hopefully in that time frame somewhere, somebody give me an opportunity to get up into the big leagues again, whether it's bench coach or whether it's coaching first base or doing something to that degree or hitting coach or whatever. But getting back up there, and at some point in time, love to do a managing job. And but only time will tell on that.
Looked like you could play today. You kept in really good shape.
Well, I mean, fortunately for me, I was down in extended spring training, and I had a lot of time on my hands, so I did a lot of working out, and it's been continuing to come off, and so I've been very, very fortunate for that. I mean, it feels good. I just wish I had my knees. I mean, I can't believe after all these years, I mean, that they haven't come up with something to give me a new knee that I can go out there and play a little bit.
Do you ever get in the cage at all?
Oh yes, I show these young kids how to hit every so often.
Yeah. What fun. Do you keep track of any of the old guys? There's old guys, you guys, but.
The Braves wise, I mean, Smoltzy, Pendleton, spoken to those. I'll see Ronnie Gant and Mark Lemke and Jeff Blauser and those guys from time to time. Pirates wise, Leland, Rich Donnelly's in our organization again, so I get a chance to speak to him some. And Doug Drabeck and my wife, Christy Drabeck and Michelle, my wife, I mean, they do their Christmas cards and we'll converse from time to time. But other than that, not a whole lot. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, all that we went through, and you just find yourself going your separate ways at some point.
I just was with the director of minor league operations for the Detroit Tigers, a guy named Dan Lanetta, and so we were talking about Jim and that whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first of all, I guess, does anybody know who you are? Do these kids have a clue who Sid Bream is?
Oh, they quite a few of them. I mean, they take notice of the people coming up and getting the autographs and knowing who I am. And then from time to time, I just had one of the players come up the other day, and actually it was Jamestown Jamers, one of the Jamestown. We had a chapel service yesterday, and they came up and said, "You're the gentleman that had that special play in Atlanta, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And but little by little, these guys come up and talk to me about my experiences in the game of baseball and what they were all like, and very receptive, very respectful, and so it's been really.
Who was your idol?
My dad.
Yeah.
I mean, in all truthfulness, Greg, my dad. I mean, he loved the St. Louis Cardinals, so I kind of followed in his footsteps growing up. My cousins enjoyed the Phillies, and so we always had a pretty heated rivalry whenever those two played. But I was never one to worry about Dick Allen or the guys that played back at that. Steve Carlton was on that team at that time, and so on and so forth. I never really concerned myself. Well, I guess I watched them, but I was never enthralled in saying, wow, if I could only meet, Dick Allen, if I could only meet Steve Carlton. Truthfully, I loved watching my dad pitch. I mean, I loved, my dad as a high school player threw 46 innings and had 96 strikeouts.
Right.
And had a great opportunity to go, but my grandfather, my dad had a bad knee as well from football, but my grandfather, because of the keeping the Sabbath day holy, did not want him to play a game of baseball, and so he never had that opportunity. But he was one incredible player, and I loved watching him as well as my uncle. My uncle played center field for the Sandlot team that they were on, and my dad it seemed like he mowed people down whenever he pitched, and my uncle ran things down in center field and hit the ball real well. So I really truly just enjoyed watching him play.
You have a religious background, and that's part of your motivational speaking. Did you find that your baseball background gave you more of an audience, an opportunity to get to folks that you otherwise would not have gotten?
Oh, there's no. I mean, right now, let me just put it this way: that play, that slide, gave me the opportunity to have a platform to be able to share with people. I mean, I've been basically all over the world. I mean, I've been to Kosovo, I've been to Germany. I've been all over the world, telling people my story of my relationship with Jesus Christ. And and it was only because of that play. I mean, I was, like I said before, I was not a franchise player. I was a good fit to a puzzle, and you know, so for that, if my career would have ended without that play, you know, yes, Sid Bream had a great career. He had a wonderful career, but that play has given me the opportunity to be able to share a lot of my faith to a lot of people.
Well, you've been an inspiration to an awful lot of folks, and for that, congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Coming up to listen to Kent Bottenfield. Do you know
Yeah,
Kent?
I do know Kent. Yep.
Yeah.
When's he speaking?
August 1st, I think.
Is that right?
This week? Yeah, I think it is, or maybe the following week. But there's posters out there that Kent's coming to sing, and
Is that right? I didn't know that.
so he went through the same interview process last year that
Okay.
that you went through.
Huh.
And of course, he had a similar situation. His was the Mark McGuire, and his was he had a big year in 1998. And then he too got traded, and then that whole process.
Sure. And now you hear of Josh Hamilton that you know, just gave such a great testimony and everything to how it saved him, saved his life and his career and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to it. I mean, it's not just a hoax; it's a lot to it.
Oh, no question about it. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Greg. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you for allowing me to think of history. I mean, think of my past a little bit.
Well, probably just one more second. Who was your toughest pitcher?
I share, you know, I know early in my career, you know, obviously as most of these guys are, I mean, you could throw anything that you wanted hard up to me and I was going to whack it. And the guys that gave me a lot of this stuff in the game, I'd go out of the game and say, how in the world did I go 0 for 4 against this gentleman? But, you know, the one individual that I share that I just never seemed to be able to figure out was Dave Diethrick. And he really, not that he didn't throw me a curveball from time to time, but for the most part, he threw a straight fastball and he threw a cutter. And the straight fastball was right underneath my hands. The cutter was, you know, he'd throw in the middle of the plate and break it away. And it just seemed like whenever I was looking in for the straight one, he'd throw the one outside. When I was looking away, he'd throw the one inside. And just could never figure him out. And you know, I have a lot of fun with people saying that, you know, he was a brother in Christ as well, and he had a better avenue to the Lord. You know, he knew what I was thinking. So, but you know, David was a tremendous competitor and a tremendous you know, baseball player, and but he was the one that seemed to give me a lot of fits.
Fill out this sentence. The funniest thing that happened to Sid Bream was.
You know, Greg, a lot of people ask me that. You know, one of the things that I really regret in the game of baseball is my memory is not the greatest when it comes to that. I remember Wally Backman tying in San Diego, going underneath the stands and tying my shoelaces together and standing up and falling down. You know, but I know that there were more stupid things that I've done in my career, but you know, I guess if I had to say one right now, that was probably the one that I can remember. That I remember falling on my face and getting the blunt of a lot of jokes at that point in time.
Was the slide your highlight?
The slide was, you know, probably the highlight, kind of like the overall picture highlight. When I came back from Atlanta to Pittsburgh for the first time, and we were actually, the Braves were getting killed at that point in time, where I think we were getting killed 9-1, and Stan Belinda again, they put me in as a pinch hitter against him in the 9th inning, and you know, when they announced me, the people gave me a 5-minute standing ovation, you know, with knees knocking and eyes watering. And went up against Stan Belinda that threw 93, 94 miles an hour, and I hit a ball to center field that have no idea. I mean, and truthfully to this day, have no idea how I ever hit the ball, because your functions have to be top notch whenever you're hitting. Right. And like I said, my heart was racing because of the ovation. My eyes were literally watering when he was pitching to me, and I never hit balls to center field for home runs. Right. And yet, he delivered a pitch and I swung the bat and somehow the ball went over the center field wall. And then after that, the people gave me another 5-minute standing ovation. So for myself and my wife, my family, that was a very special time for us as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a special time for me, and I thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you and your career and your continued motivational speaking.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now the Braves season hangs in the balance as Francisco Cabrera comes to the plate to bat for the pitching. He appeared in only 12 games this year for the Braves. He hacked at the 2-0, now the 2-1. Line drive and a base hit! Just as the score, the tying run.